Welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of The Colors of Prog. I'm Louis Paul, and this podcast is on YouTube, Podbean, and shared on the Colors of Prog Facebook page as well as my own personal page. So if I need to say it again, I discuss progressive music from all around the world and variations of such. Jazz influences, classic rock, classical. It's all part of that progressive rock thing. Even AOR, album-oriented rock. There was some progressive. There were some bands that played around with progressive stylings in their music, like Saga and Kansas and Styx, Supertramp to a degree. But a lot of the time I discuss bands from all around the world. And today we're going to do three random selections or three random pulls from the letter A. I'm probably going to be doing that over episodes to come. Just pick three random bands, three random recordings, whether vinyl or CD, and just discuss them. And we're going to start Anyone's Daughter live. This is Anyone's Daughter live 1984. So Anyone's Daughter, this is a single CD, but it's pretty long. They managed to get a lot on here. Anyone's Daughter is a German band. So Anyone's Daughter Live 1984 was originally released on vinyl in 1984. The CD release comes from Music is Intelligence, yes, from Germany in 1993. So it took 30 years to end up in my hands. The CD is supposedly missing two songs from the double disc live original vinyl, but I can't confirm that. The German band is a quartet. They released their first album, Adonis, in 1979. While many may call them symphonic, I've seen that written about them, symphonic prog, I like to say they rather fall into tricky categories. Maybe the neo-prog one, which adds in more pop-oriented choruses and refrains, sort of like the popular American and Canadian bands of the mid-70s, bands like Kansas, etc., Saga maybe. Anyone's Daughter's music, their songs, are partly sung in English and partly sung in German. So there's a point to keep in mind. And they have a rather unique sound. This live set, if it's indicative of what they were playing in the 80s, 84 being the mid-80s, I guess they were picking from earlier music and their most recent music. And so I guess if you were a fan seeing them live, you got to hear like lots of different styles. I have to say they were pretty creative live in 84 to play music that was almost quiet, and then at the same time later on percussive, and they have a lot of stuff going on. Let's just say it's a unique sound, no doubt. You have good harmonies. The band is percussive and tuneful, but occasionally, and I can't get this out of my damn head, the synth, the keyboard player is using chords and a sound very akin to Harold Faltermeyer. Now, I couldn't get it out of my head. Now, Faltermeyer, also German, was known for creating insanely catchy earworm tunes or rhythms composed on the synth. He primarily worked as a soundtrack composer or contributed to soundtracks for popular movies like the Beverly Hills Cop films, Top Gun. He even worked with Giorgio Moroder, who was a German producer and an arranger, and eventually he worked and did a lot of good work with Donna Summer. Giorgio Moroder had that disco thing going on later on. I think even the 48 Hours films with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, they had that catchy, insanely popular earworm thing. Herbie Hancock, of all people, did a. He had a song, I think it was called Rocket or something like that. Rock It. That kind of did that thing as well with the synth, and it was very popular for a time. And when you see these films nowadays, you hear that music and you're like, geez. So, pardon me. Anyone's Daughter also did that. So for a live album, it's well recorded. So reportedly, it took some of the music from their most recent release, which was late 1983. So again, this was recorded in 1984 originally. And after years of inactivity, the original guitarist and keyboardist reunited with new band members, and Anyone's Daughter released Living the Future in 2018. So that's pretty much Anyone's Daughter, German band. Now we have Arabs and Aspic. There's some glare there. This is the back. And this is a fold out. So Arabs and Aspic, it's called Live at Avantgarden. It was released by Apollon Records in 2018 on CD. Arabs and Aspic are from Norway. They were formed in 1997 in Norway, and they released their first album under the Arabs and Aspic name in 2004. And that's called Far Out and Academia. They're a mix of 70s style stoner rock, late 60s psychedelia, and King Crimson, let's say Wetton era, John Wetton era. Just debut through Red, I think. So it makes for a heady mix. This live album is good starting point for the curious. If you like keyboards, it's got a lot of Hammond and a lot of Mellotron. And for those whipped up into a frenzy by sound of a Mellotron in the band, this might be for you. I can also hear maybe Atomic Rooster, early Deep Purple. But yes, the closest comparison may be Red era King Crimson. I understand they just released a new studio album, The Magic of Sin, on December 1st. And that features 3 long tracks. So it's Arabs and Aspic from Norway. So again, going around the world. Akasha. Akasha, and this is released on Bat Records, are, I believe, from also Norway, but from the northern part of that country. So this was recorded. This is like a one-and-done band. If you follow read a lot in progarchives.com or follow progressive music other places, or even many of those of us familiar with Italian progressive rock, know there's many one-and-done bands. Like a band would make one album, and that would be it. They break up, or their album didn't sell, or they may have recorded it at a time where progressive rock music wasn't as popular, only for it to return to popularity a decade or so later. Or in some cases, the band recorded an album, and they were, let's say, probably young, and they could not find anyone interested in it. And decades later, and I've spoken about some of these examples before in other shows, where a label in France, I think Musea, or some of the prog labels in Italy, got notice of this music, tried to track down the original tapes or the best recorded version, and released the music decades later. And it's been known to be, for the most part, some of it sounds pretty darn good. So back to Akasha. This was recorded live at a bomb shelter bar. Yes, you heard that right. And the band's hometown in 1977. Again, it's a one and done, but never say never, because, once people start talking about things and people start listening to the music, they say, well, this sounds interesting. Let me see if I can try to find it somewhere. And then more people start talking about it, and word of mouth sometimes will get back to someone or to original band members or surviving band members, and they say, oh, there are people interested in our music, and they may make another go at it. And that's happened as well. So anyway, recorded at a bomb shelter bar in the band's hometown. And these 8 tracks veer from Hawkwind-style space rock to something sounding like Gong to early Crimson. There's that influence again. And they have a notch in the sound pointed towards 70s American stoner rock sometimes. Most vocals are in English, accented. Otherwise, they're in Norwegian. And it's not bad if you're a Mellotron freak. Again, these northern European bands really were digging the sound in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s of the Hammond and the Mellotron. Is popularized by bands like Crimson, Yes, and others. So, and it's interesting also that the lead singer also plays a mellotron when he's not singing or while he's singing, and the band's keyboardist plays the mellotron among other synthesizers. Now, when it was originally released, the album went out of print quickly. I guess it was on a very small label. But reportedly, a Norwegian celebrity and fan began a crowd-funded reissue on Bat Records. Yes, Bat. And it's unique and different. And if you're a collector of progressive music from Eastern European or Northern European countries, from a defunct band, I guess it's a recommendation. It does sound good. They did a good job on making the music sound pretty good. And it was recorded on a TIAC 4-track machine when they played this. And, in the bar bomb shelter of a local hotel. Go figure. Hey, you can find a place to play in front of a live audience, do it. And you could hear the audience in the mix too, so that's kind of nice. So, oh, by the way, this has the one side in English and the other side in Norwegian. So it was nice that they actually translated that. So Akasha, live. And that's our show today. So 3 random pulls, 3 random selections from the letter A. Anyone's Daughter, live, 1984 from Germany, the band. Arabs in Aspic. And just coincidentally, Akasha. And both of those were from Norway. And that's our show today. So what's coming up? Probably more random pulls. They're kind of fun doing these. Vinyl, CD, whatever I have. Because also highlights and spotlights in some cases. Music from all around the world. And that's what I like talking about. Music that you may have never heard of, bands you may have never heard of, and some you may have. And I'll remind you whether they're good or okay, or gosh, we wish that one was better, or what are they doing? Because keep in mind, some bands like Banco del Mutuo Soccorso, also known as Banco, who are a very, very successful and popular band in Italy, tried to stay as a working band during a low point in interest in progressive rock music, and they tried their hands at popular music, and then they tried their hands also at sort of a dance style, not really disco, but it was, I've seen reviews, I have some of their albums, I have all their albums, but I have some of their albums that were recorded during this period in time where they were released studio recordings with this kind of sound, but it's not really that. It's just less progressive. Although when they performed live during that period, they would throw in their popular progressive music, and because audiences wanted to see that. But so I'm assuming though the recordings, the releases weren't as well received by record buying public. Like once people who are a big fan of them as a prog band heard that, they're like, well, I'll skip on this one. So that's just one example of, it's a whole thing out there, with bands trying to stay together and trying at it. And some do break up for a long time and then come back together, minus some original members or some original members coming back. That's from bands from all over the world. This happens. Anyway, that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back again. Colors of Prog. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little different. Have a great day.